Hello and welcome back to I Love Batucada. Today we're going to be talking about the foundation of the samba bateria, the surdo, which is essentially the bass drum. Surdo itself, the word in Portuguese means deaf, like to go deaf. You can imagine it's a very, very big drum. It can be very, very loud. Typically, there are three different sizes of surdo in the samba bateria. The lowest that I have right here has two different names. You can either call it the marcação, or the drum that marks the beat, or you call it the primeiro, because it's the first drum. It's playing the most important beat, which is not beat one, is 2 and 4. The second drum, the next highest one, is called the resposta, which is the answer to the marcação. The first beat has a response, or you call it the segunda, second drum after the first drum. The third drum, the smallest one, has two names as well. You can either call it the corteador, the cutter, or because it cuts in between the beats of the first and second drums, or you call it the terceira. So primeiro, segunda, terceira, or you have marcação, resposta, corteador. Those are a little more old-fashioned styles of the names, but either work just fine. So on these drums, the first and the second, which I'll be using this terminology in English just to make it easier, the first here and the second are what we call the walkers. They're the ones that keep the beat of the ensemble. They're going to be playing on the downbeats, holding the tempo for everybody else. They're very important. These drums cannot vary. They cannot speed up, slow down without permission from the director. So technique-wise, you're going to be using one mallet and one hand. There are instances these days where crazy breaks happen that you'll need to do two mallets, but typically one mallet, one hand. The mallet hand, you want to hold it, I always say like you're handing someone a letter. So your hand is going to be in this kind of position like you're handing someone something, and you simply put the mallet in there. You want your thumb and your finger to be equal. You don't want your thumb sticking out. You don't want your finger sticking out on an equal plane here. You want all your fingers on the sticks. No pinkies out, everything here. You will see some people, or even me when I'm tired and I've been playing for 3 hours, using a club fist. It's okay, but this is preferable. Your motion when you play is really important because this is a big, heavy, loud drum. It's a lot of repetitive motion. You've got to be really careful about your shoulder to make sure you're not going to injure yourself. So the motion is straight up and down as if you were using a hammer, hitting something with a hammer. You don't want any of this going on. If you're in Bahia, you're going to be doing a lot of this kind of stuff. But in Rio, you want straight up and down, minimal shoulder lift, no shoulder lift, because you can create a lot of problems here. And as you lift the drum, you can lift the mallet. You can have a little bit of a wrist bend. So then when you come back down, you use that wrist to have the final hit here, and then lift again because you don't want to leave the mallet head on the drum itself. So the entire motion, you got lift with your bicep, open up a little bit with your hand on the way back down, you close that hand back up for that final strike, and then use the wrist again to lift, so again, the mallet is not on the drum head. So from the front on, it's going to look essentially like that. You always want to hit dead center of the drum. You're going to get the best quality sound there. If you hit to the side, you get that kind of weird sound. The middle is nice and deep. And you want to hit this drum. You don't want to just play the surface. You need to activate the whole drum to vibrate. So you need to hit it with some force for it to create the full sound of the drum. Now, just as important as the stick hand is the empty hand. If you play, there's a lot of resonance here, and that resonance is going to get in the way of the voices of the other drums. So you need to play, and then you need to tell the drum to be quiet. Play, quiet. We liken it to when you speak, you need to be able to close your mouth in between words so people understand what you're saying. If you just talk like this, nobody can understand. You have to close your mouth to enunciate your words. So speak, quiet. Speak, quiet. And when you use your left hand, you're not hitting the drum, you're not trying to get sound out of it. You're also not using your fingertips. You want the whole part of your hand. Think of it as just resting. You drop your hand let gravity do its job, drop it on the drum. It's going to make a little noise, but not a lot. The idea is just, and you want to use your full hand, don't just do it up here. You don't need to reach into the middle, but just using the butt of your heel kind of just inside the rim, you're good to go. So your basic idea is like that. So, primero surdo plays on beat 2. This is one of the greatest points of confusion with any of my students. You say, oh, I'm playing the first drum, it plays on 1. Like, in Brazilian music, the strong beat is on beat 2 and on beat 4, as opposed to Western American music where we feel it on 1 and 3. Think of your classic boom bat beat. Boom, chat, boom, boom, chat, boom, chat. You feel the low drum on 1 and 3. We're really accustomed to that. So you have to get in the mindset of like, no, like reggae, the strong beat is on 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. While the other drums are going to be filling in the other places. So for this drum, the entrance, when you get a call from the lead drum, the hepaniki, you're going to come in. You're the first drum that comes in. It's the most important part. You're going to kick the whole party off. So when the hepaniki makes a call, it's 4 beats long. You get a really simple call is duka, 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 da, bruka, duka, da, boom. And you're going to come in on beat 2 and then just keep going. So let's try that out. 1, 2, here's the call, and duka, 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 da, bruka, duka, da, boom. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you just keep going. Another really basic thing that you're going to need to know is what's called a virada. A virada literally just means turning. Virar is to turn. So you're just turning a part of the song, heading to a new part, and you just need a little punctuation at the end of the sentence, rhythmically speaking, to make that change. So this drum just has a tiny little variation. It's a little bit of a hesitation. You're going to be playing on the end of 2 and the end of 4 instead of on 2 and on 4. So if you're grooving, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll count us in a virada, and I'll play your part for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ba-ga-da-ga-da, ba-bo-ga-da. Right back into your part. Let's try it one more time. 2, 3, 4. Ba-ga-da-ga-da, ba-bo-ga-da. You notice my left hand does not change. It is still doing this basic left hand on 1 and 3. Ba-ga-da-ga-da, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is the essential 101 basic to playing this drum right here. So now we're going to switch over to second surdo. All right, second surdo, segunda, resposta. Since we are calling it the response, the resposta, you can imagine it's going to come after the first drum, and you're going to answer the question that it provides. So this drum typically plays on 1 and 3, but when we come in from the call, it's going to come, you're going to start on beat 3. So you're not going to play on beat 1 at all. First drum is the first drum that comes in. The second one responds starting on beat 3. So the technique is essentially the same here as it is on the first drum. It's just a little bit smaller, a little bit higher pitched. Typically the first surdo is going to be between 24, sometimes 26, sometimes 22, but typically 24 inch across. The second is going to be somewhere between 22 and 20 inches across, depending on which school you're at. So this drum, same pattern. You're just the high voice to the walk. Bing, boom, bing, boom, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's try coming in from the call. I'll count in the call, then we'll come in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Duka, 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 da, bruka, duka, da, boom, bing, boom, bing, boom, boom, boom. Easy. 1 and 3, keeping the walk going for us. Now for the virada, it's even easier. You don't change a single thing. The other drums change around you, but this drum is the most consistent, just keeps that beat going on 1 and 3 while people change around you. So let's give that a try. So you're grooving, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Here's the virada. 1, rocking and rolling. So that is the second right there. Now let's check out the third. Alright, third Surdo, also known as corteador, the cutter, also known as tercera. This drum is going to be the smallest of the ensemble. It is typically, this one is 18 inches, sometimes you'll see 22, sometimes you'll see 16, but that's a little bit more rare. But it's going to be the highest pitch of the drum of all the Surdos, and it plays the most complicated parts, because while the 1 and 2 are walking, keeping things nice and consistent, this drum cuts in between the beats. So, and this drum gets to variate a lot. We're not going to show any variations today, just the uber basic part. There'll be more videos for those coming out soon. So, the basic part, you're still going to have your hand playing on 1 and 3, just like the first Surdo was playing, and then we're going to have some more stuff happening on the stick hand over here. So let's count through this part real quick. You're going to have your hand on 1, and then followed by 2 and, 3, 4 e, and if you don't know the 1 e and a system, that's fine. You'll figure it out real quick. So let's do it nice and slow. 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4 e, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. And if you want to get a little fancy, you can add an extra little touch on the left hand to give it a little bit of a swing, swingada, gingada to it. You're going to go 3, 4, 1, 2. It's going to be on the 1 e and 2 and 3. Okay, so let's talk about where we come in now. This drum's going to enter at the same time that the primero does, the first Surdo. You're going to come in on beat 2 after the call from the hepaniki. So counting it out, speaking of vocally, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Duka, duka, dukara, bruka, dukara, kaboom, boom. Now it's really important on this drum to not get crossed, get cruzado like we say. It's really important that you keep the 2 notes and the 3 notes in their appropriate places, because based on the first and second Surdo, there's just a 1, 2, 1, 2. This drum gives it a 1, 2, 3, and 4 before the cycle repeats again. And some of the other drums also have a 4-beat cycle, and so if you lose track of which side you're on, you can really mess up the whole ensemble. So it's really important that you know exactly where you are the whole time. So let's get into it again. We're going to do a virada. This drum does exactly what the first Surdo does on the virada of 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, bing, bing, and we'll come back into your part. So let's do the call-in, the chamada, then let's do a virada, and then we'll stop. So here's the call. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tuka, tuka, tukara, bruka, tukara, kaboom, boom. So virada. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tukara, kada, bruka, da. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Virada and stop. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, and with this drum, since we're playing more notes, it's okay to use a little bit more of your wrist and less of your arm, because you have to play faster notes, and with faster notes, smaller motions are going to allow you to do that. If you're always trying to do this, it's not possible. You have to keep the stick a little bit closer to the drum. So if you keep it down here, when you're up to tempo, it makes it a lot easier. So that is the basic of this drum. There are a ton of variations, subidas, fun things that you get to do on this drum. We'll get to that on a later date. So now let's check out what all the drums sound like together, how the conversation happens, and we'll see you there. 1 second.